Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. Though his mother, Louise, had had him out of wedlock, her father, who lived in Philadelphia, wanted her to keep him despite of her wanting to put him up for adoption. Ted's grandfather was known for having a raging temper, which leads experts to think he was abused as a child and adopted strange tendencies. His aunt remembers one experience when she woke up to find Bundy placing knives near her sleep at the age of 3, and she explained, "I remember thinking at the time that I was the only one who thought it was strange. Nobody did anything." That same year, his family packed up and moved to Philadelphia to Tacoma, Washington. Bundy's childhood contained many moments of normality. He had a few good friends and took jobs like delivering newspapers and cutting lawns. He went to church with his parents and became a Methodist Youth Fellowship's vice president. Growing up and throughout high school, he lacked some social skills, but academically did pretty well. A young Bundy also began breaking the law. He was a good skier who shoplifted ski equipment he desired but couldn't afford, among other items. In addition, he forged lift tickets in order to hit the slopes for free. As a teen, he attempted car theft but only received a warning. Most disturbingly, Bundy became a peeping Tom who spied on strangers. Elizabeth Clover, known as Liz Kendall, was his girlfriend before he came to Utah. He seemed to really care for her. When he was in jail, he would constantly write her love letters, but to that effect, he even tried to kill her at one point, and it was a miracle that she didn't die. When a description of Ted started circulating in 1974, she thought it looked like him and tried to turn him in, but they didn't believe her. Then when he moved to Utah and she saw more murders taking place, then she tried again to turn him in. He even says that she was the only one he truly loved. Carol Ann Boone was a girl that he met through his trials, and they started dating when he was in jail. They eventually got married and had a child. Reporters would ask her many times if she thought he was a murderer, and she would always give a no, or as she states, "Let me put it this way, I don't think Ted belongs in jail." While he was in jail, she would bring him drugs and money to pay off the guards to let them have alone time. They were married for 6 years before getting divorced in 1986. On November 8, 1974, 18-year-old Carol Durant was kidnapped by Bundy posing as a police officer. She managed to escape, but just 4 hours later, Bundy had killed another young woman in a fit of rage. Months later, she confidently pointed him out in a lineup, which ultimately led him to a sentence of 1 to 15 years for kidnapping. During this time, he was charged with the murder of Colorado's Karen Campbell from 2 years earlier. He pled not guilty and was part of his own defense. While in custody in Colorado, he jumped out a 2-story building and fled to the mountains for 6 days. During this time, he lost 25 pounds, which helped him escape the second time when he climbed through the ceiling of his jail cell. He went from Colorado to Florida. After getting to Florida, he went to Florida State University sorority, Chi Omega. He terrorized a total of 4 young women by beating them with a log. 2 of them died while the others were left with horrible injuries. After fleeing the scene, he went only 6 blocks away to brutalize another young woman, making a total of 5 in one night. Michael Minerva, Bundy's main defense attorney, saw no possibility of him being innocent, so he offered him a deal that would let him avoid the death penalty if he pled guilty. Ted originally agreed to the deal, but later announced to the court that he had ineffective defense and would be denying the deal. Starting on July 1, 1979, Ted Bundy acted as head of his own defense team, though he was not an official lawyer. Besides a fairly uncertain eyewitness, the main piece of evidence against Bundy in the Chi Omega murders was a deep bite mark on Lisa Levy's left buttock. Stone molds were made of Bundy's teeth in order to see if his bite matched the crooked and distinct bruise left on the body. Less than a week later, on July 24th, the jury deliberated for 6.5 hours, coming to the agreement that Bundy was guilty of all charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of burglary. The judge then sentenced him to be put to death by electric chair. 4 months later, in November, Bundy was accused of kidnapping, sexually molesting, and killing 12-year-old Kimberly Diane Leach. His arrogant personality immediately turned the jury against him, as well as his impromptu wedding ceremony to his then-girlfriend, Carol Boone. It is said that he purposefully timed his proposal during the same day he was supposed to get the death penalty as a distraction and a sympathy card. Despite his multiple attempts at winning the jury and the judge's affection, he was sentenced with yet another death penalty. Ted Bundy was on death row for 10 years and was eventually executed on January 24, 1989. Ted Bundy confessed his killings the night before his execution in hopes of getting more time on death row. He confessed to killing 30 women. He killed 11 women in Washington, 8 in Utah, 3 in Colorado, 3 in Florida, 2 in Oregon, 2 in Idaho, and 1 in California. Researchers estimate that there were 100 or more killings, and Bundy would make more comments to encourage those speculations. Some people thought that there were 36, and Ted Bundy said, "Add 1 more digit to that and you'll have it." There are 12 cold cases that researchers think were Ted Bundy's because of the links to his other killings. A lot of the women he killed looked very similar. They were all around the same age, same body type, and normally were brunette. When Ted Bundy kidnapped his victims, he would do many things to kill them and perform other things to the bodies. He was known for raping women before or even after he had killed them. He practiced necrophilia, which means he performed sexual acts on a dead or decomposing body. His murdering process usually consisted of snatching women from places they felt comfortable in, like their homes or crowded public spaces. He would then hit them across the head with something or strangled them, avoiding a gun because it would leave too much evidence. He kept 12 heads of his victims and would put makeup on them, wash their hair, and engage in sexual acts. He would keep souvenirs, even their body parts. A lot of the time, to lure women in, he would pretend to be hurt or needed help or act as an authority figure. He was a very charming man, and many girls never thought he was dangerous. Since he was a very good-looking man, his victims would go with him with no hesitation. Ted Bundy once said, "Society wants to believe it can identify evil people or bad or harmful people, but it's not practical. There are no stereotypes. We serial killers are your sons, we are your husbands, we are everywhere, and there will be more of your children dead tomorrow." What lessons are we going to learn from the life of Ted Bundy?